Hello and welcome back to Ask a CFO, the podcast series brought to you by the Treasury Today Group. In this series, I'm shining a light on the different paths taken to become Chief Financial Officer. I'm Sophie Jackson, and I'm so excited to be with you on this adventure, learning more about the personal journeys and professional development of CFOs across the world. In today's episode, I'm joined by a very special guest, and that is Emmalene Maxwell. I first heard of Emmalene, or Emmy, through her involvement in the Nova community, which champions female CFOs. She has been praised and profiled in all sorts of coverage of rockstar female professionals due to her phenomenal reign in finance at Charlotte Tilbury and to her appointment as CFO at The Fold at the age of just 30. I was so thrilled that Emmalene agreed to take part in our series and found her to be so open and authentic to speak with a keen sense of community and social justice, which I very much admire. The first part of our conversation drops today, and it focuses on Emmalene's journey, her current role at The Fold, her experiences at Charlotte Tilbury during a period of immense growth and expansion, as well as the challenges she has faced.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm not too bad.
Fantastic. So first of all, to kick off, do you want to tell me a little bit about the role that you're in now, and maybe briefly just what you were doing before?
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently CFO of The Fold. Fold is a women's retail brand. We retail luxury women's workwear. So workwear for professional women who might have a big day at work or every day at work, or dress her for events, for her whole working life, basically. And I've been the CFO of Fold for 7 years now. I've worked really closely with the founder, Polly McMaster. We're all D2C and we mainly retail online, but we now have 2 stores. So we opened our second store last week. So we have one in Chelsea, that's been there for a few years, and we now have one in the Royal Exchange in the city.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw they noticed about the launch in the city, and it looks like it's getting a lot of great attention.
Yeah, we've had such amazing feedback from our customers. We did actually, a long time ago, we had a store not far from the city in Clerkenwell, and it was, pure classic startup. It was in the basement of a hairdresser's. So it didn't even have windows. We used to get hair falling down from the hairdressers onto the clothes. But it actually did really well. So we knew our customer was there. We knew she was still there. And we knew there was customers who hadn't moved with us to Chelsea. So actually being back in the city where she works, and we've had some amazing feedback from our customers. I think they're really, really pleased that we're sort of closer to her. So that's my current role. And prior to that, probably early career, I started in quite traditional sort of industry-based finance roles. So in rather large sort of companies, so Amex, L'Oreal, Tesco. And then I moved to a little-known startup. Actually, I accepted the role before I even knew what the company was going to be called. And that company turned out to be Charlotte Tilbury. So I joined as, I think I was employee number 6. I was the first finance person, and I got to build the whole finance function for the company. And obviously it was an incredible story, incredible whirlwind. I joined as finance manager and worked up to finance director by the time I left about 3.5 years later. So I think those 3 years were sort of the equivalent of about a 30-year career, because we did so much in that time. So it set me up well for a CFO role at Fold. I mean, the Fold was, relatively small when I first joined. I wanted to join and be part of the build again. I loved building all of the functions at Charlotte Tilbury and, getting to put all the processes in place. So yeah, I've got to do that again at the Fold.
What I find really interesting is, obviously, ahead of coming together for this project, I have looked into the Fold, and one of the things that comes across so strongly to me is how much it's about making women feel good about themselves, but also making women feel powerful at the same time. I think there's a big dilemma when you go into the business world, especially if you're a woman who wants to dress more creatively, is like, how do you be yourself and feel smart and draw that line between being glamorous and powerful without being too alluring. There's a very kind of boundaried area that's the sweet spot. And I think the Fold has positioned itself perfectly within that. You can look powerful and businesslike without looking boring or too corporate. And I find that interesting because just while you're speaking, I see Charlotte Tilbury is another brand that I find is really set up to make women feel really good about themselves. Obviously, they're both profit operating entities, but they both seem to be driven by a sense of wanting women to feel incredibly good about themselves and feel powerful particularly. So, and they're both female founders as well. So you've had quite a unique set of experiences there.
Absolutely. I think, you've really described it beautifully there, Sophie. I think I'm very lucky. I've been in 2 incredible female founder-led businesses over the last 10 years, but both with a very common theme about empowering women to feel confident, be their best selves, bring them their whole selves to whatever they're doing. And I think that for me personally, really resonates because I find I operate my best when I am being myself and I can bring my whole self to work. And I think particularly with the Fold, that's exactly what Polly McMaster, our founder, wanted to give these women. When she first started her career in consulting and private equity, the workwear choices for women was so limited. It tells a story about her first day at work, and all of the, these young women were wearing the same suit because there just weren't any choices. And actually also that sort of sartorial dressing and understanding what's acceptable and what's okay, that was also really challenging for a woman, versus a man. A man has had a Savile Row suit in his arsenal for years. It's very easy for him to get dressed for his first day of work. Whereas women, like you say, is a little bit more nuanced and challenged, and you do feel, I think we do feel more judged by everybody, men and women. And I think the Fold really, what we do is give her the opportunity to dress professionally, but also bring her personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And style. Because also, if you're able to demonstrate that personality, and like I said, being yourself, you're going to bring your best self to work. And it's almost, once you've got your suit of armour on, you now don't need to worry about it. You don't need to feel self-conscious. You don't need to be worried, whether you're...
Just get on with your job.
Exactly, whether your dress is appropriate or whether your jacket's appropriate. And I think our women just really trust us for that, to help guide her through that. That's exactly the what we're trying to do. So yeah, as I said, you described it really nicely.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that everyone who listens who's interested can go and check out the Fold. And for those who don't know, we went straight in. Charlotte Tilbury is one of the leading cosmetic brands in the UK, but it was set up by a famous makeup artist who worked with big models on catwalk shows. The idea was to kind of distill that sort of superstar feeling of makeup for every woman. So they've both got a common thread through them, as I said. So let's take us back now, away from your current situation. Tell me about your early days. Where did you grow up? What were your early years like? And how did you start on your path to becoming a CFO?
So I'm from Suffolk. I'm from Ipswich in the UK. I went to a state high school. My mum was a stay-at-home mum. My dad had his own business as an electrician, and I had a stepdad who, funny enough, was an accountant. So I was very lucky. And luckily, I'm an academic person. I was able to study relatively well. And in all honesty, my path to accountancy was not necessarily sort of one that I thought, oh my God, I want to be a CFO in 20 years. It was very much I would say I didn't really know what careers were out there. My stepdad was obviously an accountant, but there are many types of accountants. And I think really I did go to university, and I think it was really, the decision was really fundamentally based on what my strengths were. So, I'd always been quite good with numbers, and that was really fundamentally it. So it wasn't this sort of grand ambition. And I have to say, I don't know if I should say this on this podcast, but finance isn't necessarily my passion. And what I am incredibly lucky and grateful for is that I've found businesses and people that I can be passionate about. And what finance has enabled me to do is to be involved with those companies and be super nosy and get involved in so many different things. But again, if I go back to my early career, I had sort of no aspirations really to become a CFO necessarily. I started work at American Express. I did an internship there as part of my degree, got a job there afterwards in investment optimization. So it was really good. Firstly, Amex is an amazing business for processes and how things should be done correctly. So they were brilliant at that, brilliant at training. And I definitely owe all my Excel skills to American Express. And but investment optimization also enabled me to see sort of how companies really choose between investments, how they value investments, how to measure performance. So I feel really lucky that it was a really good sort of grounding in that. And I then also was able to move more into the sort of reporting side of things. So we also got experience of analysing and reviewing the business P&L for their UK car business. So, incredible experience. I then actually, I went travelling for a few months. So I left Amex, left my career, much to my mum's absolute terror, and went travelling for a few months. And that was when I suppose that's when I sort of really sort of thought, well, what do I actually want to do now? Is, as I mentioned, finance isn't necessarily my passion. I was like, maybe I should change my career. Maybe I should not work in London. I came back from travelling, and within 2 weeks, I got another job in finance in London. So there you go. But I think this time, what I was really clear on is that I wanted to have a company or a product that I was really passionate about. As great as Amex was, and it's an incredible experience, credit cards wasn't really the thing for me that was going to float my boat. So I really wanted to work somewhere where I could relate to the product. So I was able to secure a job at L'Oreal in their designer fragrances division, and I worked as a sales controller and also a marketing controller. And that was really, really eye-opening and really great, because that's when I first got to be a proper finance business partner. So I got to work directly with the marketing teams, directly with the sales teams, and that was really eye-opening for me and really incredible experience. And again, really good sort of companies like that really do give you just great foundations. So supporting the marketing director to control her budget was just what a great experience. And how to sort of manage that, how to forecast it, how to report risks and opportunities. So again, great grounding. And then after that, I moved to Tesco in more of a reporting and analysis role. But I was only at Tesco for a few months before I got a call from the CEO of Charlotte Tilbury. So, and I didn't know, actually, I didn't even know who the makeup artist was. It was top secret at that time. They hadn't even launched. I got a message from the CEO of Charlotte Tilbury. Someone very kindly recommended me to her from my L'Oreal days. And, she's got this message, and it said something along the lines of, we've got a startup, it's all brand new. How do you feel about being the number one finance person, basically building everything bottom up? And I remember so distinctly that night, I couldn't sleep. I was so excited about it. I knew nothing about it. But I was so excited about that prospect. And so I was at Tesco a few months, handing my notice in, and the rest is history. And lucky for me, I landed it at Charlotte Tilbury. So.
And do you think, Charlotte Tilbury, I would say that brand has been genius at marketing and positioning, like genius. It's very easy to connect very quickly with what it's about, and to feel like by buying a cream, you are becoming someone very special and so on. Like, it is really got an energy around it in terms of its marketing. Do you think it was that background that you'd had of being so close to the marketing function that made you stand out as they were kind of coming to the market? Because it felt like they were something from nowhere. It was just everywhere.
Yeah, I think it was probably the different types of experience, because I suppose I'd had quite broad experience.
Yes, of course.
I hadn't been in audit, I hadn't. That was probably the only bit that I hadn't done. But in terms of investment optimization or analysing returns, controlling a budget, working with people, and not just being, I suppose, in a traditional finance box. Yeah, I think that probably sort of helped me, I suppose, sort of stand out a little bit. You'd have to ask the CEO. I don't know why she chose me. But, as you say, that marketing piece for Charlotte Tilbury is an absolute machine, and incredible idea, basically decoding makeup. Again, not dissimilar to the Fold, for women who aren't necessarily confident, enabling women to choose confidently and feel confident. And that was what a genius idea.
Yeah, and they're very accessible as well, I think, which is interesting. Okay, cool. Well, let's think then. You mentioned the CEO that called you up. Have there been people you can clearly look back and earmark and think, that person really, really inspired me and made me think, okay, I can do this? Have there been any moments in your career where you've had people like that?
I mean, I would have to say it is the CEO of Charlotte Tilbury. She is an incredible woman. She is probably, she is hands down the smartest woman I've ever met. But she's incredibly hardworking, strategic, knowledgeable, but also just, I'm really lucky to call her a friend now and a mentor. I owe my career to her. She really took me under her wing and allowed me to grow into the finance director role at Charlotte Tilbury. I'd never done any of this stuff before, much as I'd had this sort of experience of controlling budgets and things. When she came to me 3 months in after we'd launched, and she's like, right, so now we need to set up a US subsidiary and a US bank account. Can you make that happen? I'm like, okay, I'll make that happen. She could have easily brought someone in who had more experience or had done it before. And it is thanks to her and her support and her faith in me that I was able to move up and grew my team. And, I grew my remit. I was in charge of tax and legal. And by the time I left, I had about 25 people in my team in the UK and the US. It's all thanks to her. And she's just a really inspiring woman as well, and I think obviously Charlotte gets all, because she is the brand and she's the makeup artist, but Demetra is really the executor in the background, making so much happen. And she's just marvelous at it. So I would say she's definitely my sort of biggest inspiration. If I could be 1% of her, I would be pleased.
Oh, wow, what a compliment for her. So I guess we've drawn that. You also had, I think we should mention that you were incredibly young to get so high in your career. Like you were a CFO before you were 30 something.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. I think I was FD before I was 30, and I think I became CFO of the fold when I was at 30, I think. Yeah.
Wow, that's a really, really unusual and really cool. So you've obviously had some great success. So we can see that of being involved in these two very dynamic businesses that are in growth mode and have innovative approaches to how they push themselves forward. That's fantastic. Have there been challenges you've faced? Because I think those are often times when we learn more about grit and perseverance. And I think that's something that all of us need to kind of draw our reserves of over the coming years. So tell me a little bit about any challenges you faced and what that taught you.
Yeah, I think, oh my goodness, I mean, just so many, Sophie, it's hard to narrow it down. I mean, obviously being in retail, particularly at the moment, is just a challenge in itself. I think,
yes,
and I would think a lot of your listeners will be digging deep in their reserves now. I think as a finance professional in retail, you sort of know that you've got to roll with the punches a little bit. Things are going to change. But I think the rate of change that we are facing at the moment is just phenomenal. There's so much happening in the world. Everything is having a knock-on impact. And you've just dealt with one fire and another one comes up, or you've probably got 5 fires going on at the same time. And I think particularly for growing businesses or smaller businesses, that's particularly hard to manage when you're trying to execute a plan. You've got a VC or a PE house who is invested in you, being supportive, but still they want results. And I think when you're trying to manage the balance between profitability and cash, and then you've got to deal with your supply chain going down for 6 weeks because of some event the other side of the world. And it's just quite hard. I think you learn to be very dynamic. I think you have to learn to see it as opportunity. It's not always an opportunity, but I think you have to, particularly as a leader, you have to try to see the positives. I can't be blustering around, shouting or stressed. You're the leader. People are looking to you, so you need to think of these options. So I think environments and dynamic, in the current situation, we'll probably look back and think, oh my God, we've learned so much. Not dissimilar to everyone did that in COVID, right? It was an absolutely unprecedented situation, and we all did things that we never thought we'd have to do, or never even thought we could do. So I can definitely tell you that being a workwear brand during a period where no one is going to work, that was a tough gig. So I'm very pleased that we're still here. It's very challenging, and then Brexit on top of it. So yeah, I think that's a big challenge for me at the moment, is trying to steer our team, steer the company through constant change, and trying to keep everyone. It's hard. You want everyone to pull together, and it's quite hard when that sort of middle distance target moves all the time. So I think that has definitely been a challenge in recent times.
Thank you so much to Emmy for taking part in our Ask a CFO series. I hope that her journey and insights will resonate with you all. And please don't miss part 2 of our conversation, which drops very soon. Stay tuned and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you so much, and please do join us again for part 2 of my conversation with Emmalene Maxwell.